¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome to the Tuesday stream. I hope everyone's happy. Sorry, I'm reading chat. Hope everyone's having an awesome day. Welcome, Cosmic Seeking, Michael Hasser, Alio. How's everybody doing? Yeah, happy Trump Loser Tuesday. We're definitely gonna talk about some news, some updates, on what's going on. Today I'm gonna try to keep the stream on schedule because I am very tired. Thank you, Michael Hassler. Yes, if you haven't done so, folks, I'm going to try to remember to show this a little bit better. But if you haven't done so, please consider going to the YouTube channel, hitting the subscribe button. It really does help us out. And it's a good backup, good way to have like a backup in case there is no more Twitch. It's just an overall good thing. It's a win-win, okay? You get to support the channel for free, and we get to expand our backup systems. Alright, folks, so I think that we're going to start today relatively quickly. So we got a video and a bunch of headlines. So I guess we should start. I guess we should start with the video.
Brought to you by Nebula. If you'd like to help support Second Thought, and the Deprogram, and First Thought, consider signing up for Nebula at the link below. Teach a man to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime. Or give a man a fish, then what? Now he has your fish and you have a story? Hardly. You just gave him a fish. No one cares about that. Get a grip. So, this video is about poverty.
Poverty.
Generational poverty.
It is an incredible motivator.
It's fantastic. And this is a great thing because it inspires everybody, gets the motivation to look up to the 1% and say, I want to become one of those people. I'm going to fight hard to get up to the top. I'm either
man, that's a good meme. That's a good meme. Oh, and here we have, hey, look, it's a guy that's currently being accused of sex trafficking. Please, the dude who has been accused of rape and sex trafficking, please tell us about poverty. First, they told me women have the right to vote. Well, yeah, it's kind of like a right. I had to start treating brown people as equal because they are. Then came the gays, and I recently started showing common courtesy towards trans people, but it's still socially acceptable to be racist and hateful towards AI. AI isn't a race. Anyways, you can go fuck yourself. Weird troll. Very weird troll. Anywho, tell us, accused rapist and sex trafficker. Tell us.
Sleep or at work. I don't take a second off. I don't take a minute off. I don't relax. I don't rest. I don't stop. I don't chill. None.
We've all heard stuff like this a million times before. If you're poor, it's your fault. It's your bad mentality. You're lazy, you're not motivated enough. Nobody taught you how to fish. I don't like you. I won't go to the dance with you. I'm the most popular kid in school and you play Magic the Gathering at lunch. I've seen you at the tables outside the cafeteria.
Hey,
I know you play-
whoa. Hold on. Listen, Magic the Gathering is pretty cool, alright? Don't hate.
Play alone, JT, and I didn't even think that was possible. It's one of the most popular myths in American culture that if the poor are where they are in the socioeconomic ladder, it's because they deserve it. Anybody can do anything with their circumstances, so the myth goes. So if you're born into poverty and you don't manage to escape it, that's a moral failure. You didn't work hard enough. Here in the US, a lot of people genuinely believe that everybody gets what they deserve most of the time, and that it's okay if some people deserve basically nothing. And if you've ever seen one of those...
I played chess on lunch break. I didn't do anything at lunch break. I like just hanged out. That's more productive than what I did.
Motivational Instagram pages, you can see this in action. Sometimes they'll post a cartoon like this. And all the comments underneath are like, those assholes deserve it. Make better choices. Work harder, stupid. Or,
This is why we need population control.
Jesus Christ.
and like, it's a cartoon. Jeez, why are there so many genocide comments? Anyway, a bunch of people
Huh. What does that say about the current system that's exactly where people turn to? What does that say about the current system that's kind of like the logical conclusion that people kind of drift towards? Now there's the thought.
People seem to believe that the best we can do to solve poverty is not to actually solve poverty. You can't. Poverty is a static part of reality that just kind of exists no matter what.
Which is bullshit that's been kind of propagandized and normalized in a capitalist system, because capitalism requires that this be the case.
The best we can do is inspire people, and if people just don't feel inspired to work harder, well, then they deserve whatever they get. And don't all those lies just suck? I get the appeal, don't get me wrong. You work harder so you get to feel like a big, strong, deserving bald man, and whatever happens to everyone else is just not your fault. You can mostly check out from politics and from the voice in your head that feels bad when you see a homeless person because, whatever. That's their own problem. But it's all lies. Poverty and the crushing inequality of the 21st century is endemic not because people don't work hard enough, not because people are lazy, but because poverty is a necessary byproduct of consistent profit.
Yes. It's exactly what I just said. Hey, Echo Rasta Dragon, capitalism kills. Yes, it does. Poverty is necessary for the system to continue. Like it is necessary. It is necessary for this.
And that means that individual poverty isn't a measure of motivation.
And like also, like this meme that if you work extremely hard, then you'll get somewhere is like, is really bizarre that people still believe this. Like even working class people still believe this. Even like workers still believe this because they think somehow that they've been conditioned to think that one day they'll be the capitalists. They'll be the ones with the power, which is a myth, right? Some of the most hardest working people get paid poverty wages. Some of the hardest working people in our society don't really make that much money. True, phenomenal emote from James from the internet.
In the past, I've made this argument with a lot of statistics. Stats about how people are more or less locked into whatever class they're born in because of things outside their control. But this video will take a bit more of a static, evergreen approach, one that will remain true even when the stats I use here become 5 or 10 years old. Because the truth about poverty is that even if no one on Earth ever took a day off, there would still be poor people so long as profit is what guides our employment decisions.
Hey!
I love
It's actually really easy to prove this, that poverty doesn't come from a lack of individual motivation or bad individual decisions. For starters, because every couple of years, poverty just happens to a bunch of people at once, randomly. Just look, here's 2 graphs of the number of people in poverty and the poverty rate over time. Those highlighted parts are recessions. As you can see, and probably expected, when recessions hit, more people are poor and the poverty rate goes up in tandem. We already know that despite being guaranteed to happen eventually, it's hard to predict exactly when a recession will take place, and specifically what sectors are going to be hit the hardest. Next recession, it could be that the place you work suddenly doesn't have the revenue to afford your labor anymore, and it'll have nothing to do with the effort you put in.
Right. Sharpie Diesel, how's it going? Welcome.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have how the pandemic affected the wealthy. The 10 richest men in the world doubled their fortune during the pandemic, making around $15,000 per second in a little over a year. And I can guarantee they didn't work twice as hard in 1 year as they had for all the years before combined.
Much less, like 15,000 whatever dollars worth of work, okay? much less that.
Economic circumstances out of their control made people more exploitable and desperate. Governments pumped money into their monopolies so they wouldn't go under, and they came out a lot wealthier. Did they work hard to get there? Some of them, maybe. Others, no. What ultimately made them wealthier was their class position and luck, not any special effort. So, right off the bat, unless you believe that once a recession hits, suddenly people lose all motivation, that right there is a solid number of poor people who are poor through no fault of their own. They're casual victims of the business cycle, a feature of capitalism that doesn't exist in most other economic systems. And conversely, being in a favorable position before a crisis, not hard work, allowed the 10 already richest people in the world to pull themselves even farther away from the rest of us. But that sudden bump to poverty and inequality happens in periods of economic decline. To be clear, stagnation and regular global market crashes are the norm of living under capitalism. But I get that if I built my case around these circumstances alone, this video would feel incomplete. But don't worry, quote-unquote normal times where the economy grows care just as little about hard work. That's because part of regular, boring old growth capitalism is what's called the reserve army of labor. If you haven't heard of it before, it's a Marxist term that refers to the amount of people kept unemployed, not because there aren't jobs they could or would want to do, but because their existence is a guarantee of capitalist bargaining power. Said differently, a significant number of people are kept unemployed purely so that those who are working worry about losing their job to them one day. This group exists because it's really useful for employers that you don't want to be fired.
Right.
And to make that threat more tangible, capitalists oppose measures that would get us closer to full employment or would make being unemployed more bearable.
Right. It's also a way to depress wages.
Whether that's a job guarantee, limits to the number of hours of work you can do each week, or generally any sort of welfare that keeps food on the table during unemployment, these things make the threat of being fired less powerful. And in complement, public services in healthcare, transportation, housing, and education make life cheaper and within reach of everyone. Capitalists staunchly oppose public services, work reduction measures, and welfare. And that's despite studies often showing that they could actually help individual capitalist net profits in the short run. For example, by relieving them of private healthcare costs or making their workers happier and more productive. If they oppose these measures, then, it's not because they can't see the short-term profit bump, but because they challenge their long-term authority. Without unemployment, and with better public services, people would be less willing to take demeaning, unsafe, or poorly paid and exploitative jobs. Working people could demand higher wages. And while this could—
Right, that's exactly what I was saying. That it's a way of depressing wages.
Could still work in capitalist favor by increasing the working class's buying power and therefore simultaneously delivering profits to the capitalists. Over time, it makes people less exploitable. And maybe, eventually, that could push profits down towards zero. Without the fear of unemployment, and with good union organizing, workers can slowly claw back a bigger and bigger cut of the value they generate for the company, which leaves the guy whose only job is owning it with less and less. And that means less relative profits, which they don't like. They like when number is more. Ultimately then, while there are regular dips in unemployment and poverty, some amount of it has to come back regularly, and be maintained artificially by killing things that would make life objectively better for most people. It would be objectively better for all of us to eliminate unemployment entirely, and we could do it with simple measures like a more equal share of work that limits working hours each week, eliminating pointless jobs, and putting more investment towards automating the jobs very few people want to do. All of which is easy enough if you're okay not maximizing profit. And you should be. At the end of the day, profit only goes to the tiny sliver of people who own businesses.
The capitalist society will always statistically have a 1%. That's always going to be the case.
But back to our main point. If you think unemployment only happens to lazy people, it makes very little sense why it would have dramatic swings from year to year or suddenly boom after a recession. And if you can see the benefit of poverty for capitalist bargaining power, you can also see how even in a quote-unquote ideal scenario, when absolutely every single person is fighting for a top spot, being a busy little worker bee, and absolutely crushing the grind set with 23-hour workdays, some unemployment would continue to exist. If for no other reason than to be a tool for exploiting the other grindsetters better and ensuring that workers can't build collective power.
Right.
And you don't have to think in these big structural terms to see how this would naturally fall into place under capitalism. When they're hiring, your boss doesn't care about unemployment and poverty. They would rather hire one person who does the work of two than hire two people. And they'd rather hire someone who does three people's work than that guy. Hard work matters only when that one guy's in charge of how many jobs there are, and we all need to satisfy him to earn a salary. Take the one guy away, and we could just split the work up more or less evenly and do a lot less of it. The point is, lazy or not, poverty will always be there to uphold profit, meaning the goalpost for laziness will constantly shift. And
right, and like, you can see this like in jobs and whatnot. A lot of times they'll downsize on purpose, and then the rest of the team is now having to carry that weight of the person who got let go or laid off, and then they'll downsize again if they see that the team can actually continue to operate with less and less people while doing more and more work.
not in the more humane direction. And so far, we've only covered unemployment. A bunch of the rhetoric I've been kind of responding to has been mostly targeted at some imaginary lazy person. Someone who doesn't have a job and definitely exists, and actually there's a million of them, and it's 100% their fault you pay more in taxes, so you should be very angry at them. But what about the working poor? Because this hard work thing is bullshit for them too. In the US, about 23% of workers work in low-paying jobs, roughly on par with countries like Lithuania and Latvia. Over 400,000 Americans work 2 full-time jobs, and nearly 8 million Americans have 2 or more job positions, counting both full-time and part-time.
8 million Americans. Can you imagine? Like, that's a lot of people who are forced into the position of having literally to take 2 jobs, or 1.5 jobs if it's a job and a full-time and a part-time, so like a 1.5 job, just to put food on the table and to make rent or mortgage or and whatnot. Hello, Conscious Canuck. Welcome.
That's a lot of hard workers, and as you might expect, it's not really by choice. Over 7 million Americans are working part-time involuntarily, working jobs that guarantee no paid sick leave, benefits, or vacation days. In these
because they have to put food on the table. And like how many people, how many senior citizens are currently being forced to take like even part-time jobs so that their benefits don't get cut because Social Security isn't enough? A lot.
Circumstances, job security is not only non-existent, the hours are irregular, and the pay, of course, is terrible. For people working in these low-wage, part-time positions, full-time employment is rare, or incompatible with their other responsibilities like parenting. And even if secured, it is just not enough to make it to the end of the month, because no one making minimum wage on a full-time basis can afford a 1-bedroom apartment anywhere in the US. It is impossible. Rent has more than doubled in the past 2 decades, and over the same 20 years, the cost of fuel and utilities has gone up by 115% in US cities. Healthcare costs have gone up, and regular bouts of inflation keep pushing food prices higher and higher like we've seen these past 2 years.
If you are within 20 years
Whoa.
of retirement...
No ban? No, Conscious Canuck.
The point is,
we know who you are. Says the person with the black ADT badge, being an over a year subscriber, who has come in here quite frequently to hang in chat. No, you will not be banned.
No amount of individual hard work and motivation will lower your rent or your grocery bill, or raise the minimum wage. Your landlord can raise rent arbitrarily. Grocery stores can up their prices with a little press about inflation. And the wealthy can lobby governments and fund mass media organizations so their pundits delay and decry any increase to minimum wages. You can't outrun rent hikes by working harder. And here the grind set types will often tell people—
Yeah, like that's a huge point right there. You can't outrun rent, mortgage, food, all these like just prices that you need, that you need to eat. You need to eat. You need to have a roof over your head. No matter how hard you work, you just can't keep up, especially with the wages that in their current state. Ban this troll. Or if people get married, they may not get Social Security because it takes spouse's income into account. That is horrible. I didn't know that. So like, wait a minute. These conservatives talk about eliminating things like Social Security and whatnot, but also simultaneously try to say that they're pro-family, but punish people for being married? That's harsh. Carpet Packs rating with a party of 7. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, folks. If you haven't already, please take a moment to go to twitch.tv/carpetpacks. Go give them a follow. Go follow them on Twitter as well. Howdy. Welcome. If you have not seen me before, I am a Difficult Truth. I do the news. I do the politics Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If you enjoy your stay, hit the follow button. It really does help us out. Welcome, gamers. Only the rich religious GOP family and own property. Who own property? I imagine. But yeah, you can't simultaneously be pro-family while also taking away benefits if you're married. That's just cruel.
people to just go work somewhere else if they aren't happy. But not only is that incredibly difficult, think about what that actually means for a second. You still want baristas, right? Having a nice, well-made coffee is a wonderful thing. Most people think coffee shops should exist. But if everybody leaves, where are you gonna get your latte? You're not. We need baristas. And
the right's pro-family stance is doublespeak. Oh yeah, it's a par for the course in fascist ideology to consistently doublespeak. Consistently. Social Security counts property and stocks against you. I mean, like, stocks I can see. And depending on what kind of property, like, if you mean, like, your house, then it shouldn't count against you because it's, like, the roof over your head. Any excess property, yeah, it should count against you.
And cooks, and farmers, and artists. And most every service or retail or manufacturing worker currently making more or less minimum wage who works just as hard as you do and can't get by. Not only can those people not usually leave their jobs, we shouldn't want them to. We don't. This is essential labor, but these workers aren't getting paid enough to reflect that. Because these are industries where it's easier to take advantage of workers, not industries where workers do something less valuable. We don't desperately need more people in fintech, because hard work has nothing to do with how exploitable you are. And that's what ultimately decides how much you make. You can work as hard as you want, but if your job is especially exploitative, that will never be enough to become wealthy. And all of this boils down to the fact that laziness isn't real. But exploitation is. And the great thing about laziness is that if you can get people to feel really guilty about it, they will willingly exploit themselves more and find it morally wrong when someone else isn't being exploited enough. In other words, instead of thinking, hey, I do a lot of work, I bet the world would be fine if we all worked a lot less. Let's figure out how to do that. The belief in laziness as a moral failure takes that original, correct observation, I work a lot, and gets people to think, hey, why isn't he working as hard as I am?
Here's what I think happens, that people who work hard start to feel resentful because there's always that person in the office who is lazy and maybe getting just as much money. How do we make sense of this in the workplace where you are supposed to...
Well, hold on. How do we know that that person is getting paid less? A lot of times, even discussing pay is taboo. If you own it, they count it as you not needing help. That's some bullshit.
...to be working?
Yeah, I think that's such a good example because really, who's the real enemy there, right? It's probably the employer who's either putting too much on someone's plate or not dividing up duties fairly or not noticing there's a problem.
Nice.
And so this book talks all about how we turn against each other, especially if we work really hard. We come to resent other people who maybe are struggling. And instead of asking the questions of who needs help, maybe I shouldn't be working as hard as I am if I'm feeling resentful. And I even talk in the book about how resentment is a sign that you need to be slowing down.
This made-up idea of laziness makes us look at people being idle and judge them, even though they're doing something perfectly normal and human, something that we ourselves want to and could do more of with a little collective organization. We come to see their idleness at our expense, and in turn, this judgment is used to justify imposing more exploitation on them and on ourselves. It would probably help if I ran very quickly through the history of where this idea comes from. Let's do that.
Have you ever heard of an account?
Whoa!
Laziness, being idle in a morally corrupt way, starts with the Reformation and chattel slavery. See, one of the ways chattel slavery was justified in the US was through the idea of the Protestant work ethic. Slaves were obviously exploited, and this made a lot of not-enslaved people uncomfortable. But to reassure them that it was okay, a myth was created that without being forced to work, slaves would otherwise be idle, slothful, or ding ding ding, lazy. And because, in parallel, Protestants had just made up the idea that hard work and accumulating a lot of wealth was proof you'd go to heaven, they felt good, or at least better, that enslaved people would be working so hard, because it meant they would go to heaven, instead of being lazy and going to hell. Working hard had acquired the biggest thumbs up, the one on God's big ol' hand.
There's nothing that God hates more than sloth, and that man were to sit around and do fuck all. God will frown upon you. It's why you're never lucky. If you're listening to this and you think I'm never lucky, I'll tell you why, because God dislikes you because you're fucking lazy.
Oi.
Start to work.
Yeah, says the dude who's facing like sex trafficking charges and rape charges. God dislikes you. Remember the GOP saying entitlement meaning too many people get it. Examples, Medicare and Social Security and SNAP benefits. Fucking lazy.
Start to show God the beauty of his own creations. You'd be amazed how lucky you'll become.
To continue with the quick history lesson, these ideas, pretty predictable.
I have a book on my read list called The Laziness Does Not Exist. Wait, was it the same thing that the dude was talking about earlier? Slaves just didn't know they were going to heaven for their work. Yeah, look, there it is. That's the guy. I goofed on how he pronounces God pretty hard yesterday. Seems like that describes the leisure class more than the workers.
It's why you're never lucky. If you're listening to this and you think I'm never lucky, I'll tell you why, because God dislikes you because you're fucking lazy. Start to work. Start to show God the beauty of his own creations. You'd be amazed how lucky you'll become.
To continue with the quick history lesson, these ideas, pretty predictably, became tied up with notions of race and class, because that's just what happens in this country. The poor and the black were depicted as lazy, while the wealthy got painted as hardworking and therefore deserving of their idleness. You can see this in cartoons like this one from 1866, where a newly freed black man is depicted as being idle, quote, at the expense of the white man. This soon turned into the still relevant myth that black people and working class whites are lazy, which became Reagan's very famous welfare queen slogan. And here we are today. Being poor is a sign of being lazy, because if you're poor, it must mean you could be working harder, and if you aren't working harder, then you're being idle at the expense of the rest of us. And just like that, you stumbled into a way of justifying cutting people off welfare when this whole economic system is designed so that someone has to be on it. I'm not just making this up, by the way. If you read this book, you'll find that Americans do, broadly, think this way. In understanding why Americans oppose welfare spending, the author of this book, who conducted a bunch of studies when writing it, says, quote, "The public is strongly suspicious of the true need of welfare recipients, and white Americans view blacks as lacking commitment to the work ethic." Later on, the author doubles down, saying, quote, "The most important race-based source of opposition to welfare is the perception that blacks' economic problems stem from their own lack of effort. Not structural racism, not capitalist necessity, people oppose welfare because of a racist myth and a false idea." Anyway, there's a lot of math in this book, as well as media analysis. It's a good read. Not a fun read, but, you know. Let's close out this video. Poverty isn't a mindset. It's not something that just exists. It's something that is artificially created and maintained. Laziness doesn't explain it. And as a concept, laziness plays into how we cast aside those who experience poverty today. Bottom line, there will be no end to poverty under capitalism, no matter how much we can convince people to work harder, assuming that's even something we want to do given how burnt out everyone is. And because I couldn't find room for it in this video, if you're wondering if this applies to countries that aren't the US, I'll end by recommending my buddy Hakeem's video. He debunks pretty convincingly the idea that capitalism has lifted millions of people out of poverty, and it's a good companion piece to what you just watched if you want a sort of part 2. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.
Based. Look up Joseph Mitchell, the city manager of Newburgh, New York in the late 60s. He's the guy that Reagan copped the welfare queen rhetoric from. Gotcha. I'm currently reading his other book on masking autism, Discovering the New Faces of Neurodiversity. Oh shoot, he did another book? Globus the Elder, how's it going? The late 50s, gotcha. All right, Joseph Mitchell. I love how when I messed up the shout out, it immediately links to my my channel. Let's try it again. There we go. Mitchell was a local official who served as city manager of Newburgh, New York. During his tenure there, appeared known as the Battle of Newburgh. He introduced a wide-ranging reform plan aiming to scale back and regulate the provision of welfare in the city, though only a small part of his plan was implemented due to opposition from state government and successive court injunctions against it. His efforts garnered him national fame attracting the praise of conservative figures such as Barry Goldwater. Yeah, I mean, like, we could pretty much, like, stop here. And that's, like, basically all we need to know. Thanks. No problem. Better to shout yourself out than someone who doesn't exist. How's it going, Zeoduk? I'm sorry, I didn't say hi. Yeah, there's a couple of folks here. And the condemnation of moderate and liberals gave him a historic legacy as a pioneer of workfare. It's a government plan in which welfare recipients are required to accept public service jobs or participate in job training. Mitchell nonetheless pressed forward with his reform efforts. In April through May of 1961, he conducted a muster of welfare recipients, of all welfare recipients in the city, requiring them to report to the police station at City Hall to be interrogated over their status before they could collect benefits. In the end, no cases of fraud were discovered. Man, this guy is a piece of work. The policies Mitchell introduced in Newburgh attracted international media coverage and generated controversy across America. The New York Times reported that the debate over Newburgh was as heated as those over such cosmic matters such as nuclear bomb tests or the fate of Berlin. Mitchell was at the loggerheads from the beginnings of the mayor of Newburgh, William D. Ryan, and he was condemned by the New York's moderate Republican governor, Nelson Rockefeller. Defending himself on June 18th, Mitchell stated that the welfare state was helping to make a nation of parasites. The mushy rabble of do-gooders and bleeding hearts in society and politics have marched under the Freudian flag towards the omnipotent state of Karl Marx. Damn. The omnipotent state. Wow. He labeled state welfare officials investigating his policies as, quote, Gestapo officials. Like, where have we seen this type of stuff? This type of rhetoric before? Workfare is ultimately what Bill Clinton implemented in the 90s. Yep, that's very true. Thanks for the shout out, no problem. The New York Times began covering the controversy in May, and on June of 29th and published a front page editorial arguing that Mitchell had brought the Dark Ages to Newburgh and that cruelty anywhere is a concern of mankind everywhere. While welfare advocates have quickly rallied against Newburgh program, however, Mitchell also found a wealth of support among Americans discontented with what they saw as overreach of contemporary welfare system. Look magazine remarked a visible wave of resentment of generous welfare policies that gripped the nation. Yes. Jesus. The Wall Street Journal praised Mitchell's efforts to correct flagrant welfare abuse, even though it wasn't really a problem. Conservative Senator Barry Goldwater, their subsequent Republican presidential nominee, met him in person in 1961 to congratulate his stand against welfarism. Remember, this is the same dude who developed and implemented the Southern Strategy. So, he was the one from the famous, quotes. You don't say the N-word anymore. You start talking about policies like taxes or say welfare. Much of the controversy focused on racial motivations of Mitchell's program, which of course is probably why Barry Goldwater was applauding him. One reporter commented at the time that those most ardently on Mitchell's side were especially concerned by the increase in Newburgh's black population. On an episode of national TV and radio public affairs program Forum, Mitchell remarked that race was of no consequence to his reforms, but he added that non-white immigration, quote, contributed to the rise of the slums in the city. and the exodus of more constructive or predictive... Jesus Christ. I mean, yeah, dude, whatever. That quote was from Lee Atwater. Oh, never mind. I got it mixed up. Goldwater and Atwater. My bad. I take that back. Yes, he did not. Barry Goldwater did not say that quote. However, he did develop or was part of it with Nixon and those type of folks. Were a part of creating the Southern strategy, if I have everything correct. Like Scooby-Doo episode, lift mask. Oh, it's racism. Yep. Many states demand back payments if you're on welfare or transitional assistance, or promise not to be on the roll again, or pay for your own disability insurance when you work. That's horrible. The whole point is to help people, because the reason why you're in that position is because you need the help. So why, like, it's just cruel. Referring partly to Mitchell and Newberg, in fall of 1961, Leo Perlis, a spokesperson for AFL-CIO Trade Union Federation, stated that opponents of welfare are against it because they don't like the Negro and Puerto Rican, because they distrust anyone who's not quite like they are, while welfare advocate Max Hahn told New York State Welfare Commission Raymond Houston that he was a little afraid of the national repercussions of Newberg plus the Puerto Rican situation. Too many brown and black people. Got it. Mitchell's comments at the time were representative of the pro-segregation movement. In one televised appearance during primaries, he singled out the white supporters of the civil rights movement for criticism, labeling them as fringe scum of society that is doing this and causing this trouble. Oh boy. Wow. He became the city manager of Haines, Florida, and Cocoa Beach. Wow. Well, if there's one silver lining, is the motherfucker's dead. He died a couple years after I was born, more or less. All right, so let's switch some gears. We got quite the round of headlines to go through. House Republicans propose planting 1 trillion trees as they move away from climate change denial. Fucking shame on the AP for even posting this headline. Okay? Shame on the AP for even posting this fucking headline. No. Republicans have not moved away from climate change denial. At all. Do you think that just like a proposal for planting trees deserves the title of moving away from climate change denial? What kind of trees are there? Are they like native trees that are supposed to be there? 1 trillion, really? How is that also going to solve the problem that we continue to emit massive amounts of fossil fuels? Guaranteed that's not on the agenda. Cutting emissions, getting ourselves off fossil fuels is not on the agenda. And to think that you are just going to plant trees and solve the climate crisis is ludicrous. Republicans are trying to save the environment and Democrats are preventing them from planting trees. Yeah, I guess. That's one way of seeing this article. But yeah, the fact that like the AP would even post, because like you know that like a lot of people don't fucking read past the headline, okay? You know a lot of people don't like move past the headline. So to say it is completely irresponsible, especially coming from the AP. Especially coming from the AP. It is embarrassing to even, like, formulate a headline like this. Low information propaganda, exactly. How about we start finding a method of completely stopping deforestation in the Amazon? They're not interested in that. They're not interested in that. Furthermore, here's the question. How long do you think trees are going to take to fully grow and become serious carbon sinks? Decades. You know what we don't have? Decades. So to say that, like, of course we should obviously be attempting to not just work on reforestation and making sure that the trees that we do plant are the appropriate trees for that habitat, and we put the proper trees that will restore the habitat in that ecosystem. But also, like Wolf Glenn said, we also have to stop deforestation rates. We have to stop emissions. The problem is, where is the profit in stopping deforestation, right? Growing trees in this heat? That's another problem. There are species of trees that are having problems because of the heat. This is an actual thing. There are actual like boreal forest areas. There are boreal forest areas that are having problems because of the heat. Good thing we have lots and lots of water. Oh, wait. Is there a reason why, is there a reason for that username on YouTube? Canada has lots and lots of water. As Speaker McCarthy visited a natural gas drilling site, it just gets better. The more we read into into this, the better it gets. As Speaker McCarthy visits a natural gas drilling site in Northeast Ohio to to promote House Republicans' plan to sharply increase domestic production of energy from fossil fuels last month. Yeah, the sign of rising global temperatures could not be ignored. Smoke from Canadian wildfires hung in the air. We can see it here. When the speaker was asked about climate change and the forest fires, he was ready with the response: plant 1 million trees. The idea is simple yet massively ambitious. Like, oh my god, who is writing this? Who is writing this? Yes, masterful gambit, sir. Masterful gambit. Plant trees as he is in front of a drill site for more fossil fuels, which are the biggest driver of climate change. Who is this manlet literally said planting 1 trillion trees is bad for the environment? What? Are you having trouble with understanding like what the problem is here? There's nothing wrong with planting trees. The problem that we're having is that you can't rely on planting trees being a solution to the climate crisis. It doesn't make any sense because trees take decades. Trees take decades to become carbon sinks. And furthermore, you cannot simultaneously frame yourself as moving out of climate change denialism while being in front of a fossil fuel drill site. Just the wrong side did it and you're mad? Imagine thinking that me criticizing this plan, and more importantly, because I already know like Republicans give zero shits about the environment. Republicans give zero shits about the environment. I'm also criticizing the AP's framing of this. Plant hemp by the millions of acres. There you go. Yeah, and do you think that they'll actually do anything? No. No. Except, get more drill sites, yeah. The party is no longer denying that global warming exists, yet is searching for a response to sweltering summers and weather disasters. Well, they don't talk about reducing emissions or getting ourselves off of fossil fuels. So no, they're not really attempting to address the problem at all. And the fact that this person, whoever wrote this fucking article, is trying to frame it as if like the Republican Party has like emerged out of climate change denialism is absurd and irresponsible. I mean, guess you think Teslas are good for the environment? I've never said that. But please, pretend that you know what you're talking about. Teslas aren't good for the environment. They're just better than gasoline. That's it. Make us dance! So oil or EV? Obviously, you would choose the electric vehicle. Okay, Teslas are the vaping of cars. Mass transit, yes. Mass transit. Mass transit would probably be ideal. You're good with the exploitation that happens in the oil industry too? Like, why is, like, we can both play that game. That's not really an argument. Autonomous EVs are better for the environment, but because we need less of them to resolve our people's logistical needs. Exactly. Yeah, we're not we're not good with children's slaves or otherwise mining cobalt. Typical lefty can't answer, must use whataboutisms. Didn't you just do the same thing? What are we gonna do with the millions of dead batteries? There are ways of repurposing dead batteries. Yes, there is. Of course there is a way. No, you're just wrong, dude. You can recycle and reuse batteries and repurpose them. Yeah, dude. Like, this just shows how little you fucking know. Anyways. Wait, this isn't the lefty, this isn't the Elon Musk will save humanity chat? No, sir, this is a Wendy's. Oh, God. Repurpose them to what? You can make more... You can make more batteries. If you recycle batteries, you can recycle batteries. How do you not know this? We've been doing this. Did you not know that we can actually recycle batteries? I wonder what their band Twitch name is. What? I know, this must be news to you. I mean, like, a Google search is like 5 seconds, my guy. A Google search is 5 seconds. Batteries contain valuable materials that can be reused to make new products or batteries themselves. Like, I mean, it just shows that you have absolutely no idea what the fuck you're talking about. So, like, maybe just, you know, take a second before you type into fucking chat. Anyways. Jesus Christ, no wonder you average 18 viewers. Why? Because you have absolutely no idea and you just got fucking clowned on? Do you have like a humiliation fetish? I don't recycle batteries, I just hit the remote until it works again. Facts. All you have to do is just keep pressing the power button, that'll work. Actually, 18 viewers is pretty fucking good, alright? Let me tell you. Whew. I'm happy with my, above, a dozen, average viewers, alright? It's a cozy, comfortable place. Anywho. The party is no longer denying that global warming exists. That's absolutely not true. That's absolutely not true. The person who made this article literally just made that up. Move cover, spin batteries, replace cover, hit remotes against leg. Yeah, there you go. You gotta go through the motion. You see that, Walter? You gotta do the whole motion. You gotta remove the cover, spin the batteries, replace the cover, hit the remote against the leg, and you're good to go. The idea that you have options when everything is run by capitalists. Yes, I love the community here and small streamers. Yay! Yet is searching for a response to sweltering summers, weather disasters, and rising sea level that doesn't involve abandoning their enthusiastic support for American-produced energy from burning oil, coal, and gas. But, like, why does it have to be? Why does it have to be? Like, energy doesn't necessarily have to be produced from fossil fuels. We have different options. So to say that, like, this is all we have is just pure fucking propaganda. Quote, we need to manage our forests better so our environment can be stronger. Great. So what are we going to do about the emissions? Adding, let's replace Russian natural gas with American natural gas, and let's not only have a cleaner world, let's have a safer world. There's no such thing as clean natural gas. And second of all, how much actually are we importing from Russia? The answer? Not a lot. Not a lot. Talk to Bhutan about managing forages. Their forests, they are the kings. Bot, his mom is in the kitchen. Actually, she's like in a completely different state, dude. Man, I really think you must have a humiliation fetish because you're still here. Don't you know American gas is 2 times as clean as Russian gas? It's like corn versus potato nationalist showdown. Oh, man. Right, maybe we should just rake forests more. We're placing Europe using Russian natural gas with them using American natural gas, which wouldn't that mean we're making actually more emissions because we're doing all of this like roundabout like stuff? So yeah, the Simmerlocker brings up a good point. Brings up a good point. No, natural gas is not clean by any stretch of the imagination. It is not. It's still a fossil fuel. It is still a fossil fuel. And Canadian LNG. $1 trillion trees is bad for the environment. Depending on trees. And yeah, I don't think that they're actually serious about this. The Biden administration has also boosted exports of liquefied natural gas to Europe after Russia, one of the continent's largest suppliers of energy, invaded Ukraine. Democratic president also said coal, oil, and gas will be part of America's energy supply for years to come. Have a great... Thank God you're fucking leaving. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Scientists overwhelmingly agree that the heat-trapping gases released from the combustion of fossil fuels are pushing global temperature, upending weather patterns around the globe and endangering animal species. But the solution long touted by Democrats and environmental advocates, government action to force emission reductions, remains a non-starter with most Republicans. So then why the fuck are you putting this article painting a picture that Republicans are somehow making a U-turn on this issue when they're not? They're actually not interested in solving this problem because they're not even willing to address one of the biggest root causes. Entered the idea of planting 1 trillion trees. A 2019 study suggests that planting trees to suck up heat-trapping carbon dioxide from the atmosphere could be one of the most effective ways to fight climate change. Maybe if this started decades ago, maybe if we had other implementations of reducing deforestation, it could be a part of the solution. Okay? It is one part of the solution that needs to be done. It doesn't just have to occur here, too. Major conservation groups and former President Trump, who downplayed humanity's role in climate change, embraced this idea. But the tree planting push has drawn intense pushback from environmental scientists. Okay, enter the people who know what the fuck they're talking about. Who call it from a distraction from cutting emissions, which I just said. The authors of the original study have also clarified that planting trees does not eliminate the urgent need to reduce greenhouse gases. I mean... Even the people who made this study are saying we need urgently to reduce our emissions. So no, they're not serious about climate change, and no, they're not actually proposing a feasible solution. Planting 1 trillion trees would also require a massive amount of space, roughly the size of the continental US, and more trees could even increase the risk of wildfires by serving as fuel in a warming world, depending on what kind of trees. There's a value of planting trees, but it is not a panacea, said Mark Ashton, a professor of forest ecology, so a person who knows what the fuck they're talking about, at Yale School of Forestry and Environmental Studies. The GOP's new approach on climate was apparently in 2021. McCarthy and other GOP lawmakers, led by Arkansas Representative Bruce Westerman, backed the bill to incentivize growing timber forests in the U.S. as part of a worldwide effort to plant 1 trillion trees. Westerman said he expects a similar proposal to advance this year. For Republicans, the bill checks the right boxes. It's friendly to the timber industry. So, wait a minute. So this is not even to like... So this is not even for like... This is not actually a deeply serious proposal. This is for the timber industry. And touts a climate solution, which it doesn't. Which it doesn't. Not a serious solution. Sequestering a massive amount of carbon for man-made emissions that would partially alleviate the need to wean the country off fossil fuels. No, it would not alleviate the need to wean the country off fossil fuels. That needs to happen regardless. Because how many decades do you think it's going to take for these trees to become the carbon sinks that they need to be? No, it doesn't excuse, and it does not mean that all of a sudden we're just going to justify the continuation of using fossil fuels. That's not how this works. Now that he has a slim majority... Oi! Hey, asshole, you're still here. Amazing. Amazing. You really do have a humiliation fetish. I think that's what it is. Listen, we don't kink shame here. I'm just saying, like, at least own it. This isn't a positive light on conservatives, though. It isn't. Yeah, I know. Their name kind of tells it all, right? Their name kind of really tells it all, right? Now that he has a slim House majority, McCarthy has also pushed for expanded energy production. He made the Low Energy Costs Act the top legislative priority. Their name smells like tears. True. The Low Energy Costs Act as top legislative priority as the new GOP majority is signified by its bill number HR1. The proposal, which passed on mostly party lines, would spur American energy production, especially oil, gas, and coal. So, yeah. So this is a deeply unserious. This is a deeply unserious proposal, because if you're trying to ramp up fossil fuel production, you're not actually serious about addressing the climate crisis. Democrats like President Biden rejected the bill as a thinly veiled license to pollute, but Republicans argued it would reduce carbon emissions because U.S.-produced fossil fuels are usually cleaner than those produced overseas. Not necessarily. They're still fossil fuels. Do you know how many fucking, refineries and oil drills are leaking methane here? Here in the United States? And fossil fuels are fossil fuels. Yes, landfills. Animal agriculture. All while using mad plastics with that mic and PC and monitor you stream on. Damn, dude. Imagine falling back to this level of logic. Yep, they just did the meme. Yeah, dude, it's literally the meme. It's literally the meme. Damn, dude, I can't criticize. I literally can't criticize or speak on anything, because I can't want to make the world a better place. It's just not allowed, folks. Sorry. Oh, you use everything you say is wrong. I mean, you could say that. You can will that into existence if you want. You can say it all you want. It just doesn't make it true. I feel bad for you. I see a lot of projection, man. Are you okay? Are you okay, or is this just part of your humiliation fetish? Are you okay? You having a good day? You having a good day that you feel the need to just come here and say these things? Because I think that's what this is. Anyways, so yeah, you're not allowed to want a better you're not allowed to want a better system because you live under it. Sorry. It's just not a thing. Like, I stream on Twitch. I stream on Twitch and YouTube, so I can never criticize those platforms to be better. So that those platforms are better. I just can't, because I now stream on Twitch and YouTube, so that's just not allowed. I can't criticize them. Sorry, guys. Yahoo News? No, it's actually AP News. Your profile pic off a company owned by Uprofic. I mean, oh wait, no. Now you're spelling correctly. Profit. Well, I don't know if I profit. But yeah, again, I cannot live under a system, and I cannot criticize a system, because I want things to be better. Gotcha. Understood. Makes sense. And no, this isn't just Yahoo News, my dude. I made it a point earlier to make a mention, specifically that this is under AP News. It literally says Yahoo News. Yes, this is a repost from the AP News. It's right here. I made a mention of it earlier. It's a repost from AP News, which is why I was criticizing them. The AP News is usually a pretty reputable news organization or news outlet, and they're fucking posting shit like this. So I'm sorry if you have like trouble understanding the concept. I'm sorry if you're having trouble understanding the concept of reposting, because like that's what Yahoo News is. They're just reposts of other news organizations. They tell you that. It's right there. They can type? I mean, that's arguable, as we've seen. Reputable, and in the same sentence you bash their article. Yes, because normally they are reputable sources, and when they're not, you can criticize them. How hard is that like is that difficult for you to understand the concept? Like, are you having a serious like difficulty understanding the concept of like you can respect a journalistic outlet, and then when they do something that's not good, you can criticize them for it? That's like a thing. You know that, right? You know that you can criticize a publication, right? That you know that you can do that, right? Or is that just like not a concept because you're just so brainwashed and you just go with the flow? So whatever you read and see on your timeline, you just accept, right? No introspection, no criticisms. You just accept everything. But if you're reading from it, so you can't criticize. It's the same man in the well logic. Yeah, it's the same logic. You exist under capitalism, so therefore you cannot criticize it. You can't want a better system. You can't want a better world. I mean, Anyways. Quote, what we've been able to demonstrate to the Republican conference is that the strategies that actually work are those that actually increase U.S. resources, said Representative Garrett Graves, one of McCarthy's top lieutenants on energy and environmental issues. It lowers energy prices, lowers emissions, and makes us more energy independent. That's not really how that works. You can't use the things to ask for better things. How dare you? Exactly. Damn. Shut it down, folks. I'm shutting the stream down. I'm not allowed to get on a public forum and and use that same public forum to advocate for better things. Damn. Like this is the same thing. Like, as being a streamer on Twitch, you can't criticize Twitch for when they do bad things. I don't understand. The energy legislation would also increase production of critical minerals such as lithium that are used in batteries for EVs, computers, and cell phones, a priority Biden shares. House Republicans and many Democrats have also advanced proposals to speed permitting for energy projects of all types, including those for clean energy such as wind and solar and geothermal. That's the kind of stuff that we really need to be focusing on. I keep reminding Republicans that H.R. 1 made energy affordable, reliable, and clean. Very quick to point out that it made affordable and reliable. Sometimes we forget to remind people, yes, and clean. That's an important part. But no, there's no such thing as clean fossil fuels. It doesn't exist. Not all Republicans agree that there's a need to address the climate change. Representative Scott Perry, who leads the far right Freedom Caucus, in a hearing Thursday, alleged that Biden administration's climate agenda was tackling a problem that doesn't exist. In the same fucking headline that this fucker, whoever wrote this, says that they're moving away from climate change denial. A new batch of kids graduated high school and just got jobs while living with parents, so they think they understand capitalism, and they're on Twitch to tell us how awesome it is. Yep. That's right. Literally talking to himself with an alt account. Wait, did you forget to log into your alt account? Is it you who forgot to log into your alt account? Damn. There's a huge lithium deposit in Nevada close to the Oregon border. They want to start mining. It's going to devastate the environment. Oh, I think he's accusing me of being you. Oh yeah, dude. Let me log into my I thought lithium batteries were better than fossil fuels. Yes, it doesn't mean that I never said that like batteries are good. Period. I said they are better. Okay? They also have problems in and of itself. How are you going to do the mining? I said that they're better than fossil fuels. Okay? How are they going to do this mining? What are you going to trample over indigenous rights? Like, these are legitimate questions. Why are we not investing more into using the into recycling and creating a closed loop system so that you don't have to do this and you can still repurpose and remake batteries in a closed loop system? These are things that we're more than capable of doing. We just choose not to. If they use the saline extraction method, it won't be as bad. You see, like, there are methods of doing things that don't have to destroy the environment as much, and you can also take into account where this lithium is coming from. So yeah, there are different options. No, you can try, but I've already shown, all right, I've already shown that you can recycle batteries and you can make closed loop systems. Okay, you can recycle batteries to make new batteries, among other things that you can repurpose them for. I've already demonstrated that, okay? It's not my fault that you just don't understand these concepts and you're trying to speak as if you do. Okay? Jesus. Horses are, yeah, horses are even more environmentally friendly. There you go. Repurpose for what? To make other batteries, among other things. I literally just posted it. There are 3 proven systems to reclaim elements from vehicle batteries. Anyways, what are you still doing here? I thought you were gonna go. I guess you just want to keep helping me out by giving me more engagement. It is boosting my viewership. I guess you just want to help out. Is that it? Is that it? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you don't have a humiliation fetish. Maybe you're just a secret comrade in disguise, okay? Maybe you're just a secret comrade in disguise who's just trying to give me more engagement and more views. Gotcha. That's what I'm gonna go with. So I take that back, okay? I take it back. My apologies. You just want to help out the channel. I understand. You just want to help out the channel. They're really just giving you all the straw men to knock down. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I take that back. I'm convinced. Okay, maybe they're just a comrade in disguise. Okay, maybe all they're wanting is to give me more engagement, more comments, more. Yeah, maybe they're me. Maybe that's actually the hidden truth. Okay, they're actually just me. I've been typing this whole time and just arguing with myself back and forth furiously. They're just you're just stating facts. They're kind of off the handle. Yeah, we saw with their username. I think that's enough. I think that's enough for me and where they stand. But anyways, yeah, I'm convinced maybe they're just like a hidden comrade. They just want to give me more comments and more engagement, which is driving up more numbers. But yeah. Maybe that's it. Maybe making silly comments like this, that maybe that's the point. I mean, hey, more power to you. If you want to help out, listen, you're doing the Lord's work, okay? By helping out this small lefty channel, by giving me more engagement, you're doing phenomenal. That's actually what I want you to keep doing. It really does help us out. I appreciate it. Give it up for the comrade in disguise, everybody. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You deserve it. Thank you. Perry went on to declare without evidence that global leaders are pushing to reduce carbon dioxide emissions are, quote, grifting. Nearly across the board, House Republicans have tried to undo parts of Biden's climate agenda. Biden doesn't really have that much of a climate agenda at all. Deriding them as expensive and burdensome, they have targeted government incentives for clean energy projects and denounced investment in strategies that account for environmental impact. So they're actually not interested. So they're actually not interested in solving the climate crisis. Clap. That's right, everybody. Round of applause for the YouTuber who keeps YouTuber chat who keeps boosting the views. Look at that. We're past 20 viewers. We're past 20 viewers. Thanks, man. Yeah, clap. Look at that. We're past 20 viewers. Amazing. Comrade Scrub Depot. They have targeted government incentives for clean energy projects and announced... Okay, they don't give a shit. Gotcha. Last week, they moved to restrict the Department of Defense from using funds to implement the president's executive order on climate. You're seeing a recognition in the Republican Party that climate change is something that they're going to have to at least acknowledge because their constituents are dealing with it on a daily basis. Yeah, but they don't give a shit. Whoever's telling this is bullshit. Do you think like the constituents are really like putting two and two together? The Republican constituents? No. They think that this is normal. They watch Fox News all fucking day and think that this is just a normal ebb and flow. They think that, like, the Green New Deal is some fucking socialist plot to take over America. Okay? Dealing with it on a daily basis and having an increased economic toll, said Lena Moffat, Executive Director of Evergreen Action Environmental Group that promotes urgent action. But you cannot say that you're committed to putting out the house fire while you're pouring more gasoline. Well, yes, she's correct there. Still, Curtis said that he hasn't seen an eagerness among Republicans to engage on the issue since they started the Conservative Climate Caucus 2 years ago. The group has grown to 84 Republicans representing 1/3 of the GOP conference. Curtis said that he decided to launch the caucus after he struggled to respond when asked about climate change by constituents in Utah, where he represents a district marked by ski resorts and national parks. I would get a lot of these young people who would come down to town hall meetings, and I would see the disappointment in their eyes when I didn't have a good answer for them. I felt like in many ways we're losing a generation of Republicans on this issue. On this issue, my dude? On a lot of issues, okay? Anyway, somebody asked me for the actual name of the actual name of the author of the article on the AP, and this is them right here. Or here, okay, hold on, I'm switching my theory back to the humiliation fetish. Or you can use a highlight method. Are you with me? Are you with me? You can use the highlight method to copy and paste. Oh, dude. I know it's unbelievable. Maybe you didn't know about that. But you can highlight things and then you can use that to copy and paste. Right? You can highlight, then you can copy it, and then you can paste it. Right? Look, I'll even do it again for you. Here you go. Look at that. Magic! Magic. Oh, man. I did. I copied and pasted his name as it appeared. That's all I wanted to do. You okay, buddy? You doing all right? Maybe we should stay away from ableism. I'm mostly being condescending, if I'm being quite honest. Anyways. What's the news today? Apparently you shouldn't criticize systems that you live under because you live under them. So apparently it is not a good idea to criticize a system that you live under to make it better or to advocate for a better system. That's the news for today. Don't slap the gift horse in the face. Welcome. Illinois to set up Illinois set to be the first state to the state to end cash bail after state Supreme Court ruling. So we live in an autocracy. Got it. Yes, we do. Illinois is set to become the first state in the nation to eliminate cash bail after the Supreme Court ruled on Tuesday. The Illinois Supreme Court Tuesday that a landmark criminal justice reform law did not violate the state constitution. The opinion was released more than 6 months after the Pretrial Fairness Act was halted by the justices just hours before it was going into effect January 1st in response to the legal challenges. High Court said the law should now go into effect in September. And its 5-2 ruling said the state's constitution does not mandate the monetary bail is only means to ensure criminal defendants appear for trial or only means to protect the public. Our constitution creates a balance between the individual rights of defendants and the individual rights of crime victims. The Act's pretrial release provision set forth procedures commensurate with that balance. But what about the bounty hunters? True. I didn't think about them. The majority rejected claims that the legislature have overstepped its authority by eliminating through the act, writing that the legislature has long regulated the bail system. The court's only 2 Republican justices dissented, saying the legislature's abolishment of monetary bail is in direct violation of the plain language of our Constitution's Bill of Rights, and more specifically, the vested rights of crime victims. This court has an absolute obligation to declare the pretrial release provision of the act to be invalid and unenforceable, no matter how beneficial the abolishment of monetary bail may be. So they concede that monetary bail, like the abolition of monetary bail, has benefits to it. Okay. The bail system overhaul was one of the most controversial provisions of the widely scrutinized Safety Act, a major bill that mandated wide-ranging reforms to policing, court proceedings, and victims' rights in the state. The court's ruling stems from a flurry of lawsuits brought to by roughly 60 sheriffs and state attorneys who argued that eliminating cash bail would reduce public safety, put law enforcement in harm's way, and violate the state constitution. In December, County Chief Judge Thomas Cunnington agreed with the groups and ruled the cash bail provision unconstitutional, though his ruling would only have applied to counties that had sued. An appeal by Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul sent the matter to the state Supreme Court, and justices ordered that the entire Pretrial Fairness Act wouldn't go into effect until further notice, quote, in order to maintain consistent pretrial procedures throughout Illinois. In the ruling Tuesday, Chief Judge Mary Jane Thies and Cunnington's decision ignored the plain language of the bail clause in the state's constitution, which never included the term monetary, so does not cement the practice of monetary bail, however long-standing and prevalent across Illinois, into our Constitution. If a person is too dangerous to be in the public for free, they're too dangerous to be in the public for money. Exactly. Raoul released a statement Tuesday morning saying someone's experience with the criminal justice system should not vary based on their income level. True. The Safety Act was intended to address pervasive inequality in the criminal justice system, in particular the fact that individuals who are awaiting criminal trials who have not been convicted of a crime and are presumed innocent spend extended periods of time incarcerated because they cannot afford to pay cash bail. Cooks County Attorney Kim Fox, who supported the bail reform, said the ruling is a monumental milestone towards achieving justice, equal justice for all in Cook County and Illinois. Ending cash bail is in line with our values and is a critical step towards economic, racial justice in Cook County and Illinois. No more cash bail, yeah. But I don't know if that's a thing. Asset bail? I don't know how I feel about this right now. Oregon is no bail. So meaning that if you're in Oregon, you just don't get out, no matter what. But McHenry County State Attorney Patrick Keneally, an opponent of the Bail Act, called the ruling a sad reflection of the state's ideological capture in our 3 branches of government. We at the State Attorney's Office will continue to do everything in our power to ensure that dangerous offenders remain behind bars pre-trial, or that other measures such as electronic monitoring are put in place to minimize risk. So, like, wait a minute, but isn't there a provision in the SAFE Act that says that a judge has the ultimate say on whether or not they go? And this does not affect serious crimes like murder, as an example. Obviously, if you're a murderer, you're not going to just be let out. Okay, that's not a thing. Despite a 2-year ramp up before bail reform is to go into effect, opponents waited until late last year to mount a serious effort to overturn the law, as well as a political pressure campaign before last year's statewide election. So I have a story. Okay, we'll post it. In the weeks before the election, opponents derided the SAFE Act as a purge law, and it would claim that it would make the state, with a particular focus on Chicago, less safe by releasing more violent criminals to prey on the public. Supported the Pretrial Fairness Act said its provision of simply remove cash bail as a condition that could only be set by a judge when considering whether someone was likely to return to court for their hearings or pose a danger to the public. Right, so they're not just, like, letting these people go. Okay? Studies of jurisdictions that have nearly eliminated cash bail have shown no significant increase in crime generally, nor by defendants released while awaiting trial. In some cases, defendants were more likely to return to court. The elimination of cash bail does not mean people charged with crimes cannot be held in custody pending trial. Under the Act, right, because this would make no sense. So, like, the smear campaign saying that they're just going to let everybody out, it's going to be like the purge, is obviously bullshit. That's not how that works at all. Under the Act, courts will still continue to hold detention hearings for people accused of serious crimes to determine whether someone poses a safety risk if released or if someone is likely to show up for their hearings, the same considerations that now often determine cash bail. So, people charged with misdemeanors and other minor offenses will be released without bail or pretrial conditions. In more serious cases that meet standards where a person can be held in custody, prosecutors will be required to request a person be detained and make arguments on the public safety and risk of flight. In cases where prosecutors seek to hold a person in custody, the defendant's attorneys will be given more time to prepare for the hearing. The decision on whether a person should continue to be held in custody pre-trial can also be revisited by courts at a future hearing. Cook County had planned to move forward with bail reform on January 1st until the justices halted its implementation. Quote, I feel very confident that we'll be ready to go in 60 days, said pretrial division presiding Judge Marubio said on Tuesday. Until September 18, judges will continue to set bail in cases in Cook County, just as they had been doing up until December 31st. DuPage's County State Attorney Robert Berlin, the lone Republican appointee on a state Senate panel that recommended revisions to the bail reform in the SAFE Act last fall, said changes adopted in December veto session were largely addressed as glaring deficiencies and expanded judges' discretion to detain defendants who might pose a danger to the public if released. Berlin did not join the lawsuit that led to the Supreme Court case because of the potential conflict with his role on the panel. At this point, I would say the public shouldn't be panicked. With the amendment passed in December, I'm confident that violent criminals are going to be detained. Obviously. Berlin said that he expected an influx of defendants seeking hearings when the law takes effect, and his office will petition judges to hold any person his office deems a threat to public safety. He also noted that even multi-million-dollar bail amounts are not a guarantee of safety. I've seen people put up $200,000 and walk out of jail on a $2 million bond. Berlin said that he and his fellow attorneys, state attorneys, planned a conference call on Tuesday to discuss options, but personally felt that another lawsuit was not likely. I think we need to move forward with the General Assembly and use the legislative process. At this point, I'm not sure what else legally what else there is to do. So TLDR, it looks like this is gonna stand, and I think this is pretty fine. But what about the, oh, sorry, hold on. Whoa, way off. June 2nd, my husband's nephew, who lived here got mad because he thought we stole his battery for tools he just bought. He threw everything out of his room into the rest of the house, mainly towards me on the couch, and tried to call my dog to him. She came, but when my husband called her, she went to him. The nephew then went outside and beat her goat. The neighbors called the cops. By the time the cops got there, they had to pull it. Oh my god. Jesus. Yikes. Well, yeah. Well, that's a failure on the cops' part, right? Because they thought it was his goat. That's a complete failure on, like, the facts of the matter. That's horrible. That's horrible. That is super messed up. Cops and I think the what now? All right, that's out of pocket. I need to trigger one before stories of animals beaten to death in a rage. Sorry, fam. What about judges get to decide whether or not they have to follow laws that affect their authority? And they're law wizards. They cannot be questioned. I should have put the trigger warning. It's okay. We'll try to remember and be mindful. Speaking of which, this is this next story is pretty messed up. So yeah, there is definitely a content warning, trigger warning. This story is really messed up. I mean, I'm pretty sure like a lot of people have already heard about it. But nonetheless, this story is pretty messed up. Okay, it's about what's happening at the southern border and what Governor Abbott has authorized. It's okay. So just you've been warned. It's pretty bad. It's pretty inhumane, and yeah, trigger warning, content warning, all that. Yeah, this one's pretty bad. Congress is going to vote themselves an $8,000 a year pay raise, yet minimum wage has an increase in 2009. Not surprising. Hey, Heat, how's it going? Yeah, this is a pretty messed up story, so here we go. All right, content warning, trigger warning. This story is messed up. Not sure if I'm ready. Well, here we are. Texas troopers told to push back migrants into the Rio Grande in order not to give them water amid soaring temperatures. Please keep in mind that we've been in a heat wave, especially in those areas that get easily to triple-digit temperatures. Emails shared with CNN by Texas Department of Public Safety detail a trooper medic expressing concerns to a supervisor over inhumane treatments of migrants along the border in Eagle Pass. The Department of Homeland Security and the Justice Department are in ongoing talks about what actions can be taken against Texas amid concerns that Governor Greg Abbott's months-long operations along the southern border, according to a source familiar with the discussions. In the email, the trooper said medics were given orders to push the people back into the water and go to Mexico, and were also ordered not to give water to the migrants. The email is a report of weekly events and operational concerns from June 20. Like, this is all happening. These concerns are happening from the same officers who are medics. The first email was reported by the Houston Chronicle on Monday. In one 7-hour period last month, according to the email, 2 medics from the State Department said they treated a 4-year-old who passed out in 100-degree weather after the Texas National Guard pushed a group she was in back towards Mexico. A man with significant lacerations on his legs suffered when he tried to rescue his child from razor wire placed on a deterrence buoy in Rio Grande. A 15-year-old boy with a broken leg suffered when he tried to cross a more dangerous part of the river away from the buoys. A 19-year-old woman was trapped in the wire having a miscarriage. The next day, according to the emails, the troopers got reports of a mother and 2 children trying to cross the river in an area without the wire. The woman and 1 child were grabbed after being underwater for about a minute. Both were pronounced dead at the hospital. The body of the other child was discovered later. On another shift, the medics said that they found about 120 people camping out, including nursing babies and other young children, exhausted and hungry and tired after a day when temperatures reached 108 degrees in the shade. The medics questioned an order to push them back to the river towards Mexico, as they thought it was not the correct thing to do, and that one could have led a risk of drowning. They were told to leave the area, the trooper wrote in an email. The trooper medics contacted their superiors while on duty and again writing, calling for changes to the latest Operation Lone Star policies brought in by Abbott. I believe we have stepped over a line into the inhumane. We need to operate it correctly in the eyes of God. We need to recognize that these are people who are made in the image of God, and we need to be treated as much. Oh, man. Yeah, they don't believe that for a second. Do you think, like, Greg Abbott believes that? Do you think Greg Abbott believes that? No. In the email, the trooper also voiced concerns over the casualty wire. The casualty wire needs to provide protection to the state and provide a safe means of travel on solid land to proper collection points. The wire also needs to be manned and patrolled constantly to provide security for the families who are seeking refuge. The wire on the shore needs to be lighted at night so that people can see the wire, not stumble into it as a trap. The wire and barrel in the river need to be taken out, as it's nothing but an inhumane trap in high water and low visibility. The DPS spokesperson Travis Constantine is not able to confirm or comment any of the accounts detailed in this email. When asked about troopers being told to push migrants back into the water or deny them water, Constantine told the CNN, the Office of Inspector General, is investigating this incident. Quote, troopers give migrants water, they heal their wounds, and they save them from drowning. They also do everything possible to deter them from risking their lives in the first place. Texas National Guard members have not been given any orders to push back migrants into the water, said the Texas Military Department Affairs told CNN. The Texas National Guard is missions to work alongside Texas law enforcement partners to prevent, deter, and interdict transnational criminal activity between ports of entry. There's no order or directive instructing service members to push illegal immigrants back into the river or deny them drinking water. In a separate email shared by DPS South Texas, DPS Director Victor Escalon writes to agency officials saying troopers should open the wire to help when necessary. As we enforce state law, we may need to open the wire to aid individuals in medical distress, maintain the peace, or make an arrest for criminal trespass, criminal mischief, or other acts of violence. Escalon noted that the troopers should continue messaging the migrants via personnel verbal commands, LRADs, which are, by the way, horrifying, and signage about the dangers of crossing the Rio Grande into the U.S., and remind migrants to turn themselves into the ports of entry on the Mexican side. Our DPS medical unit is assigned to this operation to address medical concerns for everyone involved. As we enforce state law, we may need to aid those in medical distress and provide water as necessary. Apparently not, though. He added that the department is in close communication with Mexican federal immigration, state police, and media and NGOs across the river in Mexico to help with messaging to stop and stem the flow of migrants. This message also included an email from DPS Director Steve McGraw with photo attachment of injuries sustained by wires along the Rio Grande. There were 7 incidents where migrants needed medical attention, according to this email. The purpose of the wires is to deter smuggling between ports of entry and not to injure migrants. But they do. In response to the reporting, Andrew Maharis, a spokesperson for Abbott, released a statement to CNN. Texas is deploying every tool and strategy to deter and repel illegal crossings between ports of entry as President Biden's dangerous open border policies entice migrants from over 150 countries. 150 countries, folks. Wow. Amazing. To risk their lives entering the country illegally. The absence of razor wire and other deterrence strategies encourages migrants to make unsafe and illegal crossings between ports of entry, while making the job of Texas National Guard soldiers and DPS troopers more dangerous and more difficult. President Biden has unleashed a chaos. Yep. Yeah, personally, Biden himself, despite the fact that there's been no real substantial change between the immigration policy of the Biden administration and the Trump administration. Like, save for like a handful of things, the immigration policy of the Biden administration has remained almost the same. Okay? The dude's a monster? Absolutely. It's unstable. We have a constitutional duty to respond to this unprecedented crisis. So I guess Americans are going to pick their own produce on farms, or no? Doubt. The Biden administration has criticized Abbott's actions along the southern border and his decision to bus migrants to Democrat-led cities without coordination. Internal discussions about legal action against Texas date back to last year when Abbott started sending migrants to cities nationwide without alerting them. Controversy also emerged with the deployment of buoys in the Rio Grande, which pose a potential drowning risk to migrants. It's unclear whether the administration will take legal action against the state, and officials have stressed that border agents have historically worked closely with the Texas National Guard and the Texas Department of Public Safety. Yeah, like if you want to see like what they're talking about, it's like these buoys. Essentially, it makes it hard for you to get up and increases the risk of drowning. Last year, the Justice Department sued Arizona for placing shipping containers along the U.S. southern border, a move taken by then-Republican Governor Ducey as an affront to Biden's immigration policies. Arizona eventually agreed to remove the containers. In recent years, migrants have resorted to increasingly risky and often fatal paths to evade detection and enter the U.S. Immigrant rights advocates point to policies that have made it more difficult for migrants to seek refuge in the U.S. Last year was the deadliest year so far for migrants crossing the U.S.-Mexico border, with at least 748 people dying at the border. Texas recently has been involved in a lawsuit over deploying floating barriers in the Rio Grande to deter migrant crossings along the border. Mexican marshmallows? What does that mean? Can you elaborate on that? Yeah, can you elaborate on that? What is Mexican marshmallow? It sounds to me like they're cheering migrant deaths. Yeah, I think so. No. What does that mean? What is... No. What does Mexican marshmallow mean? Come on, say it with your chest, you fucking coward. Thank you. Fucking piece of shit. What the F did I just join in? Oh, just somebody being a piece of shit. Yeah, we're getting rid of them right now. That's enough of that. There we go. Jesus. Really wanted to fill up that tech. Yeah, he's just a fucking piece of shit. Man. Like the thing about these fucking cowards is like it often takes so long for them to just say what they want to say. They must have already been banned. Yeah. Alrighty. There we go. Like that's enough. Fucking piece of shit. What's on the news today? A lot of things. Dog whistle is the mating call of the dog whistle is the mating call of the racist coward. Yep. Absolute garbage human being. Get fucked, you Nazi piece of shit. I went back and saw some of the YouTube comments that were held for moderation. It's bad. Yeah, fucking loser. Oh, border collies are awesome. Cute doggos. Although all doggos are cute doggos, but yeah. Yeah, they are pretty smart. A dog mayor in California? No, but I have heard of scenarios where like a pupper won like mayoralship I think a cat was a mayor at one point. In some place, I forget. All right. There's a dog mayor in Alaska. The Irish president dog also holds a special political position. That's awesome. All right. Switching gears, folks. We're almost there. Georgia Supreme Court. We're gonna speed run this one because it's just a it's just a setup for the story of today. Okay. Georgia Supreme Court rejects Trump's bid to head off potential indictment. Georgia's highest court unanimously rebuffed a last-ditch bid by former President Trump to try to head off a potential indictment for tampering with the results of the 2020 presidential election. In a 5-page decision issued on Monday, all 9 justices of the Georgia Supreme Court said that Trump's lawyers have failed to make a persuasive case for shutting down the inquiry made by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. Supreme Court be wildly left and right propping off rulings. I swear they waited until the Republicans held a majority to do anything. This one is the Georgia Supreme Court, though. This one is the Georgia Supreme Court. She has signaled that indictments are possible in the election-related probe in the next few weeks as a grand jury convenes to consider possible charges. Yeah, the GA SCOTUS gave the finger to Trump. The Georgia court said Trump was attempting to run around the normal process of seeking relief first in lower courts, and there was no reason to permit that in these circumstances. Georgia's kind of based lately. I don't know if I would say based. Based is not the word that I would use. Anyways. Quote, he makes no showing that he has been prevented fair access in the ordinary channels, said the High Court, in an opinion not attributed to any specific justice. He is asking this court to step in and itself decide the motions currently pending in the Superior Court. This is not sort of relief that is the court. This is not the sort of relief that this court affords, at the least absent extraordinary circumstances that the petitioner has not shown present here. The Georgia case and the DC case may finally hurt 45. I hope so. Georgia's not Florida, sort of. Yeah, I mean, like, that's all you can say. Like, that's about the extent of that. Georgia's not Florida. Trump's lawyers have claimed that Willis has violated the state rules governing grand juries in various ways, including by using a special grand jury to investigate potential crimes related to the 2020 presidential election, and then presenting that evidence to another regular grand jury that is considering potential indictment against Trump and his allies. Got it. So that failed unanimously. So we have that, and now we have this. Trump said he's received a target letter from special counsel Jack Smith, January 6 investigators. Donald Trump said on Tuesday, today, he expects to be indicted by special counsel Smith January 6 grand jury, citing a target letter he receives from investigators on Sunday. So the walls are closing in on two different sides, right? So we got, on one hand, the 2020 election probe that's happening in Georgia. And here, we have the January 6th stuff. Such a letter almost always means an arrest and indictment, Trump, who has already been criminally indicted twice in recent months, wrote on Truth Social. Trump said the letter, which is prosecutors' typical precursor to a charging decision, offered him a chance to speak to the grand jury, which meets at the federal courthouse in Washington, D.C. later this week. Targets of criminal investigations rarely speak to grand juries, and Trump has not exercised that right in 2 other criminal cases in which he's been charged. The letter is a clear sign yet that Smith is close to seeking an indictment for Trump's role in the effort to disrupt the peaceful transfer of power on January 6 of 21. While the specific crimes that Trump may have been charged are not clear, Smith's team has been eyeing potential obstruction charges related to Trump's actions in the days leading up to January 6 and on that day itself, including pressuring his vice president to unilaterally block the certification of Joe Biden's electoral victory. Investigators have also examined Trump's consideration of a plan to seize voting machines from the states, his campaign of false claims that the election was stolen, and his role in advancing a plan to assemble bogus slates of presidential electors to stoke a conflict ahead of January 6. That's the type of shit that I want to see, whether or not there is going to be some accountability. That is the case that I want to see if there's going to be some accountability. It's wild. It's still wild to me that the Republican Party coordinated in multiple states to shoehorn fake electors to overturn the election. Unbelievable. It is unclear whether other figures associated with Trump's effort are also in Smith's sights. Investigators have interviewed dozens of prominent figures in Trump's orbit, including Pence in recent months. Attorney John Eastman and Jeff Clark, 2 Trump associates considered key allies in his effort, had their phones seized last year. Trump revealed the target letter as he prepares to fight on another front to delay a criminal trial, also resulting from charges brought by Smith related to his hoarding of national security secrets at his Mar-a-Lago estate. Trump attorneys will be in court in Fort Pierce, Florida on Tuesday afternoon, asking for the trial to be postponed until after the 2024 election, a prospect that Smith's team has vehemently opposed. Trump is facing an extraordinary array of criminal charges and investigations in addition to the 2 cases Smith has mounted. He's facing charges in Manhattan, yes, we know. The GA, we know. Many aspects of Smith's January 6 investigation were previously pursued by the House Select Committee on January 6, which interviewed hundreds of figures associated with Trump's scheme to seize a second term despite losing the election. If that isn't the most it's unfathomable to me that this actually happened and people still support this guy. The Republican Party still supports this guy. It is wild. Absolutely wild that this is a thing. That this was a thing. And he hasn't been in jail all this time. Yeah. Avoiding consequences all up until maybe this time. What happened with the officers who straight up let people in? I don't know. Like, what are you supposed to do at that point? When you're completely outnumbered, beaten. I mean, like, what are you supposed to do? I mean, if there are officers who did that on purpose, then those should be investigated. I think didn't some get fired? Or some had, like, some repercussions? But yeah, like for the most part, at some point they just couldn't do anything about it. So yeah, if there were officers who were purposely colluding, which I imagine some were, And the ones in the building were told to just let them walk around, which is fair. Yeah, like at that point they couldn't do anything. So I'm not sure, to be quite honest, what the consequences or repercussions were at the time. But yeah. Many aspects were previously pursued. Okay, the committee concluded that Trump was at the center of a complex months-long effort to sow doubt about the election result and then orchestrate several attempts to reverse the outcome despite no evidence of significant fraud. Yep. The panel focused in particular on Trump's effort to pressure state and local officials to appoint alternative slates of presidential electors in 7 states won by Biden, and then use those slates as a pretense to disrupt the January 6th session of Congress, when the Constitution and federal law requires Congress to meet and certify this election. That session also, according to the Constitution and law, is managed by the Vice President, who doubles as the President of the Senate. When no state official acquiesced, Trump turned to a cadre of lawyers, including Eastman, who promoted fringe alternatives to keep Trump's prospects alive. Eastman famously pressured Pence and his top aides to violate the provisions of the Electoral Count Act, a law that has governed the January 6th session of Congress since 1887, to advance this effort. Prosecutors and the Select Committee have also focused on Trump's effort to assemble a massive crowd on Washington on January 6th as part of his plan to pressure Pence and GOP lawmakers, to help reverse the results, and then to steer towards the Capitol after Pence made it clear he wouldn't go along with the plan. Trump inflamed the crowd with his rhetoric and then stoked anger further when he attacked Pence, even as violence was underway at the Capitol, accused him of lacking courage. Pence and lawmakers were forced to evacuate and delay the count for 6 hours while law enforcement and National Guard worked to clear the mob, or the insurrectionists. So, yeah. If this is true, things are about to get serious for Trump. And rightfully so. Fuck this guy. To which, of course, he immediately took to Truth Social and started truthing. Witch hunt! Crooked Joe Biden and his Injustice Department want to indict and arrest his presumed political opponent, me, who is leading him in the polls in the upcoming presidential election of 2024. Such a thing has never happened in our country before. You're right, Donald. Never in our history of our country has a president so brazenly attempted to do what you did. What you and the Republican Party did. You're right. And in the middle of the campaign, election interference and prosecutorial misconduct. That's right, I was streaming that day. Ah, cat turd. Ah, yes. I'm not reading this entire screed. I'm sorry. This entire, like, delusional rant, by basically saying that it's unfair that actually, he's being, indicted. Yeah. Here he is, stochastic terrorism. Does Donald Trump have a line of dick pills yet? No. The Republican Party must get tough now. This is strong. This is a strong sentiment that's flowing through the veins of patriots. Do something. Do something. Do something. The dude's off the rails. The dude's off the rails. Like, the fact that he, like, typed this all out, in some kind of, like, email, I guess, for, like, an election email. Yeah. The Trump gold card? That the new scam? It was just near the top? Oh, was it an ad? Maybe it was an ad. Are you smarter than a liberal? Take the quiz. A free gift for those who pass. Oh, man. All right, so there you have it, folks. There might be more indictments coming down the road. Things are getting serious for Trump, and rightfully so. I'm glad. Fuck this guy, honestly. The best outcome is that this motherfucker goes away for a very long time. The best outcome is that we never have to hear or talk or see this guy in politics. But we'll definitely be keeping an eye out on these cases. All right, folks. Well, yeah, on top of banning him from any office, like serious jail time is needed. He needs to be made an example of. He needs to be made an example of, full stop. So that, you know, people don't think that this is like a normal and okay thing to do. All right, folks, I got to get out of here. If you enjoy the content, please hit the follow button. Make sure you hit the follow button. It really does help us out. And if you want to support the channel, not the all right folks already? Yeah, I'm sorry, Jesse James. I'm sorry. If you guys want to support the channel and can't monetarily, hit the YouTubes. All right, hit up the YouTubes. It really does help us out. As Michael Hassler posted the link there. Hit the big red subscribe button. It really does help us out. Spread the word far and wide. We're here Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We do the news. We do the politics. Shout out to Carpet Packs. Thank you so much for the raid. So a couple of people, a couple of shout outs. First and foremost, thank you, Carpet Packs, for the raid. And thank you for bringing your wonderful community over. Thank you, Michael Hassler. Heat, thank you for keeping the chat chill. Shout out to Globus the Elder, another friendly streamer. And Aliosher. So I think I got everybody. So yeah, do the things. Do the social media. It really does help us out. We're at 243 subscribers on the YouTube, so thank you guys so much. You guys are what makes this channel grow. Thank you for the follows, the biddies, everything. The subscriptions. You guys are what makes this channel grow, so I really appreciate all the support. Thank you guys, as always. Please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love y'all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See ya. All right, folks, hang tight. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.